5 minutes, I'm going to teach you how to take your car photos from this to this. Hey, I'm Quentin, and if you're new here, I run a Turo business where I rent out cars similar to Airbnb, except obviously it's with vehicles. Whether you're renting cars on Turo or you just like taking photos of your car, I'm going to give you 4 easy steps on how to make your car photography 100 times better in under 5 minutes. Now, step 1 is something that I like to call removing competition. Not everybody has access to an empty car lot to get that perfect shot. I know I definitely don't. So the first thing I do when opening a photo in Photoshop is remove the competition. Now, back in the day, this used to be a lot more difficult doing it by hand, but in today's day and age, using AI can make your world a lot easier. Now with the click of a button, boom, the cars are gone. It's not as easy as I just made it look for the video. You kind of have to play around with what you type in and what you ask of AI to do, because sometimes you can create images that we probably both know don't look right. All right, that car actually looks sick, but you get my point. But once we get all the competition removed, we move on to step 2. And step 2 is what I like to call fix distractions. Now that we've erased the competition, it's time to clean up the scene. Sewer gates, random people, a rogue traffic cone, it all has to go. Like I said, we really want to make sure that your car is the emphasis and nothing's really grabbing your eye to look at something else. Think of it as like decluttering your house before somebody comes over. Let's say you have a really nice couch and somebody comes over. Nobody's going to pay attention to the couch if there's dirty laundry all over the floor. So let's remove the dirty laundry. Again, I use generative AI for this because it just makes it so much faster. I also use the pattern tool to remove simpler things like sewer grates or something like that, because usually the parking lot is a similar texture and you can just copy the other parking lot over the sewer grate. I also use the pattern tool for like buildings and things to remove numbers, just so I'm not giving away the address of other people. Now on to step 3 is what I like to call dressing her up. Sounds a little weird saying it. Now that you have all the distractions removed, you can already start to see it's a better photo without really doing much work and using Photoshop to do most of the heavy lifting. The most dangerous people in the world are the smart, lazy ones, because they find the easiest way to get things done. Editing your car photos does not have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a 3-day ordeal. Use your tools on Photoshop to make a better photo and to make it quickly. Now that your viewer's eye isn't really going all over the photo and it's focused right on your car, like I said, we're going to dress her up. And what I like to do here is really just lights and tint. I always like to add some flare to the lights, and this just gives the car a little more pop to the headlights. Now, this could be super dangerous the way you do it, because if you do too much, it's going to look fake and edited, which we don't want that. I usually add another layer on my Photoshop project where I select like an off-white and I just paint the outline of the light bulb. I then mess around with the blending a little bit and turn the opacity down, and now it doesn't look so harsh and so fake. We don't really want people saying, oh, nice edit. We want people saying, oh, that's a nice car. Next, I create another layer, maybe a little bit lighter white, and I use a really soft feathered brush to color around the headlamp. And again, I play around with the blending to make sure it doesn't look fake. Now, I don't do this often because usually it's a little too much on the photos, but sometimes I even create a little beam of light coming off the headlights. Like I said, create another layer, light brush, turn the opacity down, mess with the blending. You really don't want this to look fake, because then people are going to know it was edited. It really only works with certain photos, of course, to the side, but I figured I'd add that in just in case you guys want to mess around with it a little bit. Now, I'm sorry for bringing up Turo again, but sometimes I even add some funny little things to the license plate, like rent me or something, just to really catch my viewer's eye when they're scrolling on Turo. Obviously, if you're just editing your cars, you can add whatever flair you want to add. You know, maybe you add a funny bumper sticker or something on the window. Really, it's up to you. This is really where you let the creativity run free. Again, you just don't want to add too much because it takes away from the photo. You want subtle little things that people kind of notice secondarily after they notice your car. Step 4 is the final touch, and this is really just opening that photo you saved from Photoshop up into Lightroom, and you're going to edit the color. Here's really where we bring it all together. Now, I'll be completely frank with you. I'm not the best Lightroom guy. I do mess with the sliders a little bit, but everybody knows you can just slap a preset on it, and 9 times out of 10 it'll work. Usually I bring the preset down a little bit to maybe like 50-60%, because again, you don't want too much going on. Even if you're brand new to Lightroom, tweak some of the sliders and kind of figure out what's going on, and you could probably figure it out. But here's a trick that I learned to make it 10 times faster. If you slap a preset and you turn it down to 50-60, it still might look a little weird. There's 2 things that you can edit that will probably make the preset look completely fine, and that's going to be your exposure and your temperature, because obviously in the camera, whoever took the photo is going to have different exposure and different color balance when they take the photo. So when you slap a preset on it, that preset might have looked really good on another photo, but on your photo, it's probably not going to look as good. So if you go and tweak the temperature, tweak the exposure, you can find a happy balance between those two, and it'll probably make your preset look perfectly fine. If you touch those 3 sliders, you could probably get the photo editing done into Lightroom within like 60 seconds. If you don't want to pay for presets, there's tons of free ones online. You can Google free presets, go on YouTube and look up free preset, and a bunch of people post videos of explaining how to put a preset all in Lightroom, and then they also offer a free one in the description. You just got to do a little digging, and at the end of the day, if you really want to use a high-end preset, pay a couple bucks and it'll be worth it, I promise. I paid for all my presets, and then I have all my presets that I created. I don't sell them, so don't worry. I'm not going to sell you on any presets. So now obviously there is a lot more to editing photos and taking the photos into what I just gave you. But this is a really quick beginner guide on how to get your photos to pop. You're starting with this and now you're getting this. So super simple. Half of the work is AI and the other half is tweaking the temperature and the exposure and bringing down the preset a little bit. If you just do those things 9.9 times out of 10, you're going to get a pretty good photo, better than what you started with. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm a cheater for using AI, or do you think it's smart? Obviously, you know what side I'm on. And hey, if you like YouTube, cars, money, stuff like that, think about hitting the subscribe button so we can become best friends. And if not, maybe I'll get AI to remove you next.
Sometimes I like to hike up mountains just to see how crazy small we are. In this world